was all that remained. And now we're changing the game. Sunrise hit a little salt water. How could I know I'd never be the same? How my whole life would change when you told me your name. You caught my eye, I thought you were out of my league. Your pretty face, your pretty smile was all I could see. It didn't make sense in the moment that every time that I looked, you were looking at me. Then I knew right where I wanted to be, and suddenly it all came together. The last piece of my puzzle was all that remained. And now we're changing the game. A sunrise had a little salt water. How could I know I'd never be the same? Now my whole life would change when you told me your name. My heart was never meant for another. It took a while, but now it's plain to see. We didn't even have to look for each other. We just were where we happened to be. Suddenly it all came together. The last piece of my puzzle was all that remained. Now we're changing the game. Sunrise had a little salt water. How could I know I'd never be the same? When you told me your name. Like this and us were made for each other. Who knows what will happen next? Oh. Tell me your secret, and I will tell a lie. I'll say it's Saturday morning and the stars are all still in the sky. Baby, you can fake it, pretend you're still asleep, but that smile on your face tells me you can hear everything.
You're listening to the Jams and Coffee Morning Show with your host, Brad Brock.
Good morning, jammers. Welcome to Jams and Coffee here in the morning, Monday morning. Fighting that Monday morning fog. I completely understand the sentiment, figuratively and literally, out there in the world. Some of you probably feeling the effects of the impending storms, either that have gone by or are on their way. It's amazing. We've gone from such a really lackluster hurricane season through August to just this really, really fascinating and high energy hurricane season. We'll talk a little bit more about that when we get into the show. But thank you so much for tuning in with me on YouTube or Facebook, or listening in on JNC Radio via the Live365 app. Got some news on that too, or at least to get your feedback on some things. But yeah, thank you so much for tuning in. I hope your weekend was great. I hope everybody made it through, and we're here now, starting a brand new week with Tropical Storm Ian swirling around. Bye, Jordan. Swirling around out there, making its way up to the Florida coast. Very exciting stuff. That does not take away from Hurricane Fiona, which just went up the east coast of the U.S. and really just smashed into Nova Scotia area and Canada. Really, a place that does not expect these types of storms. And it really just gained a lot of speed and energy on its way up there and really just kind of nailed us. So my thoughts are out to the people of Nova Scotia area, Canada, and of course those still recovering in Puerto Rico and the other islands down that way. We're getting ready for our own. I tell you what, though, looking at the spaghetti models and the cone of uncertainty, any westward shift is from Florida, from our East Coast, our Treasure Coast area, is good for me. I feel for the people of Louisiana who certainly don't need a storm like this, but in the interest of self-preservation, I do like to see those westward trends on the cone, even though I think overnight it shifted back east a little bit. Still, fingers crossed. And the key is to just be prepared, Get your, with Jordan and I, when we went, we looked through all our shutters. This would be the first year in this house. So we, got to make sure all the shutters are there. We looked at all the hardware and the windows to make sure that they were good to put the shutters on, assessing things like that, We're pretty early shoppers, so we have plenty of water and things like that. We're not like panic shoppers like some people. But hey, you got to get it. Go get it. But yeah, speaking of weather, I guess we'll knock that out here while we're here on the Treasure Coast. It's there's a moist easterly flow that'll bring us some scattered showers and thunderstorms today. Then tropical impacts, of course, from Ian will increase the wind and storm chances here by Tuesday and Wednesday, depending on the exact track, which is still to be determined. We're under a risk of severe weather on Tuesday and excessive rain on Wednesday. And right now, it appears the worst of Ian will track well to our north and west around midweek as a major hurricane, Category 4, somewhere in the eastern Gulf of Mexico. But there's still quite a bit of uncertainty on exactly where it'll be and how far from us it'll stay. So we got to stay vigilant and just keep watching the track as it goes. They've got some Tennessee weather coming in from Philip, our Tennessee correspondent. He said it's a cool low 50s this morning with a sunny and mild day ahead. The temps are going to be in the upper 70s. Nice fall morning there in southern Middle Tennessee. Very nice, very nice. Yeah, it's balmy here. It's balmy. You know, Philip, in the chat here, Philip brought up my palm tree repair, the plastic surgery I performed on my palm tree. Listen, I would be remiss if I didn't say that I've been thinking about it. What's helpful is that I bought two of the exact same pieces, so I still have one that's completely brand new in a closet. So worst case scenario, I just perform the surgery again. But I have thought about it. It's been through some pretty torrential downpours and some relatively heavy winds. Certainly not storm, tropical storm force winds. So I don't know. I have faith. I think that'll be my guide. You know the old coconuts. Like if the coconut's wet, it's raining. If the coconut's dry, there's a drought. Coconut's gone, it's a hurricane. That's going to be my gauge. If the palm tree is gone, it's a hurricane. But yeah, it's held up pretty well, all things considered, and we'll see if it holds up through whatever comes our way for this storm. Before we get into the national days, just to let you know, the phone line's open, 772-888-1596. Follow the prompts. It'll get you on the air with me if you got anything to add or talk about. Otherwise, let's take a little sneak peek at our national days here today. There's quite a few. This is an interesting one. I'm not sure who it applies to. But it's National Compliance Officer Day. It recognizes the professionals who oversee the regulations, policies, and procedures of an organization, ensuring it conducts business ethically. And legally, these professionals carry a heavy burden. Not to mention the scorn of employees just trying to have a good time at work. Businesses, nonprofits, and government organizations employ chief compliance officers, chief ethics and compliance officers, or similar high-pressure positions. These professionals not only oversee these organizations' policies, but also respond to allegations of misconduct and evaluate procedures. They make changes when necessary, and additionally, they collaborate with teams to contribute to making the best decisions for the business to maintain compliance. So we're celebrating those people that keep sanity and order in the workplace. So thank you for your service. I don't know where our compliance officer is around here, but I guess that would be another sticker for me to wear. I'm not very good at it. This was an interesting one. It's National Situational Awareness Day. And what does that mean, you may ask? Well, it brings attention to personal safety. Situational awareness is the foundation of one's personal safety. It focuses on being aware and paying attention to your environment. Situational awareness also means mindfulness, and developing it makes you more present in daily activities. In turn, it also helps you make better decisions in all aspects of life. So this day highlights the importance of using situational awareness skills in everyday life to stay out of harm's way. Harm may come in the form of walking in front of a moving car or that of an assailant. Both scenarios can be the result of distractions causing us to lose awareness of our surroundings. In an instant, a dangerous situation can develop. So being aware of a threat, even a split second sooner, may save a life. Awareness gives them time to react instead of reacting. Awareness gives them time to act instead of reacting. The lack of or inadequate situational awareness is considered one of the primary factors in accidents attributed to human error. So there you go. Be aware of your surroundings. It sounds simple enough, but in an age where there are so many distractions just, all over the place, it's easy to not pay attention. But something you should pay attention to is that it's National Dumpling Day. Of course, celebrated on September 26th, serves up a delicious treat to celebrate. With the popularity of dumplings growing all the time, the day offers a great way to celebrate, whether enjoyed as an appetizer or the main course. Each morsel satisfies. Dumplings offer so much variety and flavor. They create a beautiful accompaniment to any meal as well. Whoa, excuse me. The endless possibilities of shape and taste make dumplings a favorite dish around the world. Dumplings really just consist of small pieces of dough. Generally, but not always, the dough is wrapped around a filling. Both flavor and cooking methods factor into the wide variety of dumplings available. The dough may be composed of flour, potatoes, or bread. The fillings may come in many forms: meat, fish, vegetables, or sweets. Dumplings can be cooked in many different ways as well. Some of the methods include boiling, steaming, simmering, or even pan frying. While dumplings are often eaten on their own, they are a delicious addition to soups and stews too. The old southern recipe, that chicken and dumplings. Oh man, my grandmother used to make them with Bisquick. She'd make Bisquick dumplings. Growing up in my household when I was a kid, there was always an industrial size of Bisquick. And it was used in almost every single recipe that my grandmother or mother, bless their hearts and rest their souls, would use. You could make pancakes with it. You can make dumplings with it. Biscuits. Oh my gosh. Crusts for things. It was unbelievable. What a great invention. But truth be told, I've not had a box of Bisquick in my house in my entire adult life. Done with it every day as a child. But now talking about it and thinking about the nostalgia, I might have to go and pick up some Bisquick. Make something interesting tonight. And you should too. National Dumpling Day. It's also National Johnny Appleseed Day. That's right. Today we honor the man who made apple and pear trees grow heavy with the bounty of their fruit across most of this country. We commemorate his day of birth and celebrate his legendary wit, wisdom, and enduring story. He was born John Chapman back in 1774 in Leominster, Massachusetts, to Nathaniel and Elizabeth Simmons Chapman. Nobody knows much about his early life other than his mother died when he was 2, and his father packed up Johnny and his sister and moved to Springfield, Massachusetts. His father served as a Minuteman and fought at Bunker Hill. Fort Wayne, Indiana, and Johnny Appleseed Park, a grave marks the spot where the legendary sower of apple seeds rests. And in 1797, Chapman shows up in the northwestern Pennsylvania, propagating his apple seeds and working his way steadily into the frontier of West Virginia, Ohio, and Indiana. Eventually, he travels as far west as Illinois and Iowa, and as far north as Michigan and Wisconsin. And in his wake, Appleseed left orchards and the teachings of Emanuel Swedenborg. Swedenborg, of course, was a Swedish spiritual leader whose books Appleseed would buy with whatever payment he might receive for his endeavors. In turn, the traveling nurseryman would give the books away as he traveled and planted. Mostly, though, he planted his seeds and seedlings for free, along with his wisdom. His broad-brimmed pasteboard hat kept the sun from his eyes wherever he went. Often shoeless, he traveled mostly by foot and sometimes by horseback or canoe. His appearance was nearly as noteworthy as his accomplishments, but so was his kindness. Johnny Appleseed came calling. People made a place at the table for him. Many stories tell how the man would travel many miles to nurse an ailing orchard when word would reach him of its poor condition. While bringing the trees back to health, which of course was his chief endeavor, the orchard man dispersed his wisdom, care, and kindness. So there you go. Johnny Appleseed, one man making a huge difference in the world. So today is his day. Happy birthday, Johnny Appleseed. You'd have been very, very old today had he survived these hundreds of years. What else we got going on today? Oh, yes. This goes right with Dumpling Day and Bisquick. You could get a big box of Bisquick, and you could celebrate all the national days today because it's also National Pancake Day. That's right. That's of a tall stack of syrupy goodness to celebrate. So set the table, mix up the batter, heat up the griddle because the butter is ready to melt and the flapjacks are delicious. You know, they're also known as Johnny Cakes, griddle cakes, or hot cakes. Batter-made breakfast item dates back more than 30,000 years. In fact, it may be the oldest breakfast food in history. Became a traditional part of Fat Tuesday celebrations when revelers would feast before fasting. They still do. Thin cakes can be rolled and filled with fruit and other fillings. Usually, though, they're stacked and drizzled with your favorite flavored syrup. You can add fruit, nuts, whipped topping too. Well, mostly are served mostly as a breakfast item. Pancakes along with bacon, ham, hash browns, and other morning offerings also make a delicious supper. Breakfast for dinner. It's a nice change of pace. And a delicious one as well. And there are many ways to, of course, enjoy pancakes, whether you go out to your favorite breakfast joint or make them at home. Be sure to add your favorite syrups and toppings. And enjoy National Pancake Day. Very exciting. I might have to partake in this. Might have to. Our favorite local little diner right around the corner, maybe a block away from here, is Rick's Diner. They're open, of course, for breakfast and lunch. And they have great stuff there. Might have to call in order. Let's see. What else we got? Oh yeah. So this is not for new people. This is for the older generations, my age and probably older. It's National Shamu the Whale Day. Of course, it honors a famous whale while also raising awareness about orcas. Shamu is the name used in several of the SeaWorld orca whale shows. The stage name given to the star of those shows, beginning with the original Shamu in the late 1960s. And that Shamu died in 1971. However, SeaWorld trademarked the name Shamu. They gave the name to different orcas throughout the years when performing in Shamu shows in several SeaWorld parks. How about that? So many Shamus. Is there still a Shamu? I don't know. SeaWorld's been having some problems lately. I used to love SeaWorld when I was a kid. So fun. That was back before roller coasters and all that other nonsense. It's just like a big aquarium. Wonderful. This isn't a national day, but it's a world day. It's a World Contraception Day. It spreads awareness about contraception and safe sex, of course. It also teaches younger generations to make informed decisions about sexual health. Today's the day you, with teens or preteens, to maybe have the talk. Whether you think it or not, they're probably out there exploring, and you should be on top of that. Oh, what else have we got going on today? Let's see. I think there was one more here. Oh, yes, one more. National Family Day, speaking of Contraception Day. But it encourages everyone to gather around the table and enjoy a meal together. The old saying goes, families who eat together stay together, but did you know they may also be reducing the risk of addiction? According to the National Center on Addiction, families who eat 3 or more meals a week together reduce a teen's risk of using tobacco, alcohol, and other drugs. That's a fantastic outcome on its own. Family bonding is just a bonus. However, there are more benefits. For example, families who eat together also learn healthy eating habits, eat smaller portions, and are less likely to stress about food. Back to the bonding. When parents engage with their children over a meal, their relationships are better. They learn responsibility while helping to prepare the meal and cleaning up. Children feel like they're part of a unit, a team. They connect with the people who mean the most to them and who know them best. Parents become and remain the people they turn to when the significant problems crop up. So look forward to conversations about grades, dating, borrowing the car, and moving away. Don't forget the debates about politics. Ding, 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 ding. Children won't always agree with us, and that's okay. Why? Because we raise them to be independent thinkers and to express themselves effectively. And these conversations start at a dinner table. We shouldn't begin when our children's world turns upside down. So how about that? Growing up, man, this is a very nostalgic day. Growing up, eating a Bisquick meal. We always sat down at the table. A tradition I still like to keep. Jordan and I, when we make meals together, and we always sit at the table together and talk about our days and enjoy our meals. I like that. We used to do that with my grandparents and my mom and it was always before the TV tray era. I don't even know if it's a TV tray era anymore. I think it's like a eat in your bedroom type thing. But no, gathering around the table is still important in this household. And I think that does it for our national days. Quite a few today. I appreciate you guys indulging me on these, and maybe find yourself fascinated by one or two and partake in the celebration. Let me take a look back at my notes here. When we come back, got some interesting stories to share with you, including the old adage when they say buy land because they're not making more of it. Well, that might not necessarily be true, and I'm going to tell you why when we come back from this musical break. Thank you so much for tuning in to Jams and Coffee here in the morning. And we'll be right back.
I won't tell about a dance that's going round. Everybody doing it from the grown up down. Don't move your hand, don't move your head, you don't move your lips, just shake your hips. Do the hip shake, babe. Do the hip shake, babe. Do the hip shake, babe. Shake your hips. Shake your hips. Shake your hips. Now if you don't know it, don't be afraid. Just listen to me and do what I say. Don't move your hand, don't move your head, you don't move your lips, just shake your hips, just shake your hips, do the hip shake, babe, do the hip shake, babe, do the hip shake, babe, shake your hips, shake your hips. Now take it easy, take it easy. I must be out somewhere, shaking them on down here, must I? Must I shake them on down? In town, shake down like you, yeah, must I? style, shake 'em on down. Town. I said, what do you know? Well, I said, Papa. She didn't move her hand. She didn't move her hair. She didn't move her lips. She just shook her hip. She just shook her hips. She did the hip shake, babe. Did the hip shake, babe. Did the hip shake, babe. Shake your hip. Shake your hip. Shake your hip. Now take it easy. Bring it down, down to the. Bring it down, down to the.
You're listening to the Jams and Coffee Morning Show.
You sure are. Thanks, Jessica. Always looking out for me, she is. My only employee, my virtual employee. Thank you for tuning in to Jams and Coffee here in the morning. Appreciate you joining me. Of course, on YouTube, Facebook, or JNC Radio on the LIVE365 app, or anywhere else that you happen to be tuning in. I know there's a lot of information or a lot of links and things for you to check out. The best way to see everything that we have to offer is to go to jncpodcast.com. jncpodcast.com. Well, you can watch this show right there on the website. You can listen to JNC Radio right there on the website. All our social media links to all the stuff that we're doing is there as well. All of our other shows, including the Jams and Cocktails podcast, the Drums and Rums podcast, those live streams there, all the stuff that we do. Available for you to check out right at jncpodcast.com. And sign up for our mailing list while you're there. Wherever you're enjoying the show, please subscribe. Please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. We're trying to build that up. But like and follow our stuff on Facebook and follow us on Instagram. We always put some fun stuff out there as well. TikTok, The Brad Brock is a fun place as well. So all kinds of fun stuff. Check it out. Or you can call in and harass me on our phone line here, 772-888-1596. Follow the prompts. It'll get you on the air with moi, if you so choose. For the break, I was telling you the old saying, buy land because it's the only thing they're not making anymore. Well, that's not true. Apparently, the Central Tonga Islands welcomed the birth of a new baby. A baby island, that is. That's right. The new baby island emerged in the southwest Pacific Ocean, where underwater volcanoes are plentiful. One of these submerged volcanoes awoke back on September 10th, spewing lava, steam, and ash, according to a statement from the NASA Earth Observatory. 11 hours after the volcano began to erupt, a new island had emerged above the water's surface, says NASA, which captured images of the nascent island with satellites. The newborn island grew quickly in size, according to NASA. On September 14th, researchers at Tonga Geological Services estimated the island covered just 4,000 square meters, which is about 1 acre. By September 20th, the island had grown to cover 24,000 square meters, or around 6 acres. The new island sits on the home reef seamount in the Central Tonga Islands, southwest of the archipelago's Late Island. You might not want to get too attached to the baby island, though, because islands created by underwater volcanoes are often short-lived, according to NASA. But sometimes the ephemeral island can persist for years or even decades. The Home Reef volcano was still erupting as of Friday, according to a Facebook post from the Tonga Geological Service. But the volcano's activity poses low risks to the aviation community and the residents of Vavus and Ha'apai. Ha'apai. That's probably the better pronunciation of that, which are two island groups, of course, in central Tonga. No visible ash in the last 24 hours was reported, added the agency, and all mariners are advised to sail beyond 4 kilometers away from Home Reef until further notice, as that could probably be detrimental to your sailing. How about that? A brand new island. Anybody want to jump on a boat and go and claim it? Claim it for jams and cocktails, or jams and coffee, or JNC in general? We can have our own island. That could be cool. So yeah, it says if volcanoes weren't a threat enough, of course we have our own threats. But as the hurricane threat passes for South Florida, events are going to go on as scheduled. So instead of gray skies once forecast, the South Florida Car and Truck Festival features the colors of a hot West Palm Beach September Sunday. So that's going to be going on. You can check that out. The group showed off their car's powerful engines, paint jobs, and bright colors. But on Florida's west coast, thousands might not be all right. The Florida Division of Emergency Management said we could see a situation where we have a Cat 4 storm surge and potentially Cat 1 or 2 landfall. Kevin Guthrie, the director of the Florida Division of Emergency Management, and Governor Ron DeSantis warned many living on the coast of Florida's western peninsula and the Panhandle to prepare for landfall of a major hurricane. DeSantis added people living far from the storm's path will also face risks. Could be flooding on the east coast of Florida as a result of this. The governor said it's a big storm. At the Palm Beach Convention Center in downtown West Palm Beach, those at the Car and Truck Fest enjoyed a day of hot temperatures, hot cars, and an event that no longer qualifies as weather permitting. So that went on. In fact, Sunday was beautiful. I don't think it rained very much here anyway, that I saw. But yeah, good to be vigilant as the storm tracks more to the west, which is what we like to see here anyway. But yeah, sorry about your life, Tampa. So I may have the answer to a burning question. No, not that kind of burning. Burning question you might wake up each morning and ask yourself when you stare deep into your eyes in the bathroom mirror. Why do people have phobias? Well, most people can think of something that's especially terrifying to them. Maybe they're scared of spiders. You know, up to 15% of Americans have arachnophobia. Or they have a fear of flying, which some studies suggest that affects around 1 in 5 people. But why do we experience fears and phobias? Well, first, it's important to note the difference between a phobia and a reasonable reaction to something that is fundamentally dangerous or unpredictable. A phobia is a fear of a particular situation or object that is out of proportion to the objective reality and interferes with a person's life. That's according to Ron Rappi, professor of psychology and founding director of the Center for Emotional Health at the Macquarie University in Australia. And he said most phobias show essentially the same characteristics and differ only in the particular focus of the fear. He explained common characteristics include avoidance of the feared situation or object, worried or negative thoughts, and physical symptoms when faced with the fear, such as increased heart rate, pupil dilation, and increased respiratory rate. Most people will be cautious and wary upon encountering dangerous situations or objects, but sometimes these realistic fears can move beyond what most people would see as a commensurate or as commensurate with the reality of the situation. This is when people's reactions to such scenarios tend to be labeled as excessive or irrational. Debilitating aversion to water, according to Rappy, is an example of a sensible, entirely rational precaution that can transform for one reason or another into a full-blown phobia. And it's possible that some of the most common phobias, such as the fear of heights, actually arose due to evolutionary pressures. So in most cases, phobias are found in relation to realistic and evolutionary sensible objects and situations. For example, one almost never sees a phobia of electric wires or sockets, even though these can kill you. But it's common to see phobias of storms or snakes or spiders. In other words, things that could kill us in ancient times. However, it's still unclear why fear or caution evolves into a phobia for some, but not all. A common theory is that phobias are learned at key developmental periods, usually earlier in life. Most phobias first emerge in childhood. This learning may come from a bad experience, maybe being bitten up by a dog or something like that. This is probably the exception, since most people with phobias can't report specific traumatic experiences. Psychodynamic theory, first contemplated by Sigmund Freud, many of you may know. It suggests that many behaviors and fears can be linked to experiences in childhood. Particularly traumatic cases, the memory of these early life events can be repressed, theory claims, and could end up manifesting in phobias later in life. However, some experts, such as Dr. Joel Paris, a professor of psychiatry at McGill University in Canada, have suggested the absence of solid and persuasive evidence for the theory means that, while repressed memories may play a role in development of phobias for some people, it's unlikely to be the case for the majority. In fact, a person doesn't have to have a negative experience to develop a phobia. They could see someone else have a bad experience or be told or shown repeatedly that something is dangerous. In other words, maybe a parent frequently warning a child about the dangerous ocean, or a person watching movies such as Jaws and Titanic, which showcase the sea as menacing and lethal, could conceivably catalyze the development of thalassophobia, which is the fear of large bodies of water. Over time, this learning might cause fears to be culturally clustered around certain animals, objects, or situations. According to Chris Askew, a lecturer in psychology at the University of Surrey in the UK. But it's not that all phobias are learned, or it's possible that not all phobias are learned. Though some psychologists have suggested that certain concerns and worries might actually be innate, a concept called non-associative account. According to a 1998 study in the journal Behavior Research and Therapy, proponents of this account argue that we are genetically predisposed to fear certain things, and a negative learning experience isn't necessary. While this idea is still debated, it does seem that people with certain traits are more likely to develop phobias. For example, people who are more temperamentally fearful and emotional tend to be more likely to develop phobias. Emotional types of people are more likely to have a variety of fears and phobias, including fears of water. A person's innate nature or temperament might be a risk factor. That's according to Kelvin Wong, a clinical psychologist at La Trobe University in Australia. An example of neuroticism, or a person's personality where they experience the world as distressing, threatening, or unsafe. Another example is behavioral inhibition, which describes a temperament that reacts poorly to novel situations. According to Askew, phobias and feelings of anxiety may even run in families. It may be that some people are more genetically predisposed to developing a phobia. Indeed, research published in 2017 in the medical journal Dialogues in Clinical Neuroscience found that generalized anxiety disorder is about 30% inherited. There's also evidence that the shared family environment could be key. A person's experiences are particularly important. So with this in mind, why do people tend to retain phobias for an extended period? Is it possible to get rid of them? Well, phobias probably last a long time because most people with a phobia avoid the thing they're afraid of. In other words, they do everything they can not to encounter the object or situation, and in that way, they maintain their fear. To overcome a phobia, you need to face your fear. In professional terms, this is usually referred to as exposure therapy. It is people need to systematically and repeatedly face the situations and cues that are related to their fear, within a safe environment, of course. And when this is done properly and consistently, phobias respond very quickly. In fact, there's even a single session treatment for phobias these days. The desired end goal is for the patient to gradually approach their phobic stimulus in order to learn that what they fear will not come to pass. So there you go, a little psychological science there for you. Anybody have any irrational fears or phobias? Let me know in the chats and comments, or if you have any fun stories to share, you can call me 772-888-1596. I'd love to hear all about it. Trying to think. I used to have a pretty strong phobia about crossing the street. Believe it or not, I was. For a very, very long time, I was dead set on always using a crosswalk and waiting for the signal. It really, really irked me to just jaywalk across the street, because one of my biggest irrational fears is that I'm going to get hit by a bus. I'm sure I'm not alone in that. I certainly don't want to go out that way. That seems just terrible. And I'm not sure where it stems from, but yeah. And I still, if I have the option or it's not an inconvenience, massive inconvenience, I will still wait for the crosswalk to give me the signal to carry on. Yeah, so that's one of mine. Other phobias include, fox faces. Well, that's a story for another time. Any football fans out there? What a weekend for football. We're not going to talk about it because I didn't watch any of it. But what I did see, glancing over from my gigs at the television, was just this was a weekend of annihilations. My goodness, Dolphins are dominating, man. Excited for their season. I hope they keep up that momentum because it would be nice to see them do something big after all these years. But the cat's out of the bag for the Super Bowl this year. Rihanna will be headlining Super Bowl 57 at the halftime show. She confirmed herself the news late Sunday afternoon by posting an image of her social media of her tattooed right hand and arm holding a football aloft. The same photo promoter Rock Nation first posted to their Twitter with the caption, "Let's go" at Rihanna NFL SBLVII. The NFL Rock Nation founder and chair Jay-Z said in a statement via the NFL announcing the news that Rihanna is a generational artist or generational talent, a woman of humble beginnings who surpassed the expectations at every turn, a person born on a small island of Barbados who became one of the most prominent artists ever, self-made in business and entertainment. The halftime show is a co-production of Rock Nation, Apple Music, and the NFL. The first time all three have teamed up for the event. Over the coming months, fans can expect to see exclusive details and sneak peeks leading up to the Apple Music Super Bowl halftime show by following at Apple Music on TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter. Super Bowl 57 is scheduled to take place February 12th, 2023 at the State Farm Stadium in Glendale, Arizona. Rihanna. There was rumblings later last week, Taylor Swift was possibly in the running for it, but that appears to not be true. So congratulations, Rihanna. Some sad entertainment news here. Louise Fletcher, the actress, of course, who won an Academy Award for playing the villainous Nurse Ratched in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. She passed away on Friday in France, according to her agent, David Shaw. She was 88 years old. Shaw said Fletcher died of natural causes without providing any further details, and she was surrounded by family at her home and in France. Shaw, who said he worked with Fletcher over the past few decades, said she lived in a converted 300-year-old farmhouse there and also had a residence in Los Angeles. France was her favorite place on the planet. She built a beautiful home, in a beautiful place that she loved, he said. She was a great woman. What a career. Fletcher's Oscar came for her second movie after a long break from acting to raise her children. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest starred Jack Nicholson as a new patient at a mental institution where Mildred Ratched, played by Fletcher, reigns as an authoritarian, controlling nurse. In her Oscar speech, Fletcher sweetly thanked her Cuckoo's Nest colleagues and then, using sign language, acknowledged her deaf parents watching at home, which is lovely. I want to say thank you for teaching me to have a dream. You are seeing my dream come true, she told them. The film swept the top 5 Oscars for 1975. Best Picture, director Milos Forman, adapted screenplay, actor Nicholson, and actress Fletcher. Her role became regarded as one of film history's greatest villains. Number 5 on the list compiled by the American Film Institute, behind the likes of Hannibal Lecter and the Wicked Witch of the West, of course. In 2020, Fletcher's role inspired a spin-off, the Ryan Murphy TV series, Ratched. Fletcher also had a continuing role in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. She played Helen Rosamund in the 1999 film Cruel Intentions, among many other film and television credits. Most recently, she appeared in the Netflix comedy series Girl Boss and on the series Shameless. She's survived by her 2 sons, John and Andrew Bick, her sister, Roberta Ray, and granddaughter. Fletcher was married to Jerry Bick in 1959, and the couple divorced all the way back in 1977. So, sail on, Louise Fletcher. Let's see. What else is going on out there? In the music world, we talked about this on Thursday or Friday, sometime last week. Post Malone had a pretty nasty fall at a recent show in St. Louis, and it's been a rough time for old Posty. So he's back in the hospital a week after he fell on stage in St. Louis, according to a statement posted to his Instagram story on Saturday night. He was forced to cancel a planned show in Boston after experiencing breathing problems and stabbing pain, he wrote. Today, I woke up to cracking sounds on the right side of my body. He wrote in a statement, I felt so good last night, but today it felt so different than it had before. I'm having a difficult time breathing, and there's a stabbing pain whenever I breathe or move, he went on. Post Malone said he was back in the hospital and was unable to perform in Boston due to his ongoing pain. Of course, last Saturday, the musician fell through an opening on the stage while performing at the Enterprise Center in St. Louis. He was in visible pain, but finished the concert after a brief break. Afterwards, he was diagnosed with bruised ribs at the hospital. Dre London, Post Malone's manager, commended the musician for finishing the show in true Posty fashion. Fall came in the middle of Post Malone's 12 Carat tour in support of his album 12 Carat Toothache. The national tour started in Omaha, Nebraska, and will end in November in Los Angeles, according to his website. On Instagram, Post Malone apologized for canceling the Boston show, scheduled to take place at the TD Garden Arena, and pledged to reschedule the performance. He said, I love y'all so much, he wrote. I feel terrible, but I promise I'm going to make this up to you. I love you, Boston. I'll see you soon. I'm so sorry. So, hope he takes some time to recuperate. My goodness. Yeah, bruised ribs are no joke. That's crazy pain. So, as I've said many, many times, love Post Malone. However you feel about his music, that's up to you. But he's a good dude, by all accounts. So I hope he gets feeling better. All right, I got one more story here for you, and then we're going to take a break, and I'll come back with the top 10. NASA, this Artemis program, it really, really is getting a rough shot here. But the Artemis 1 rocket will not have its third launch attempt tomorrow as planned due to concerns, of course, over Tropical Storm Ian making its way toward Cuba and Florida. After a meeting on Saturday morning, NASA's Artemis team decided to forego the September 27th launch opportunity and is now preparing the Mega Moon rocket for a rollback. On Tuesday, Tropical Storm Ian is forecast to be moving through the eastern Gulf of Mexico as a hurricane just off the southwest coast of Florida. Cold front will also be draped across the northern Florida, pushing south. The combination of these weather factors will allow for increased rain chances across much of the Florida peninsula on Tuesday, including the Cape Canaveral area. Showers and thunderstorms are forecast to be numerous and widespread across the region. Tropical storm force winds from Ian could also arrive as early as Tuesday night across central Florida. Meanwhile, the Space Launch System rocket and Orion spacecraft continue to sit on the launch pad at Kennedy Space Center. NASA team members will meet Monday, today, to determine when to roll the rocket stack back into the vehicle assembly building at Kennedy. The agency said managers met Sunday evening to review information from the U.S. Space Force, the National Hurricane Center, and the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Decided to allow for additional overnight data gathering before they make the call. Preparations can shorten the typically 3-day process it takes to roll the spacecraft back inside, and once the vehicle is rolling on the slow-moving crawler transport, it can take 10 hours or more. The rocket stack can remain at the pad and withstand winds up to 85 miles per hour. If the stack needs to roll back into the building, it can handle sustained winds less than 46 miles per hour. On Friday, the Artemis team said that October 2nd was a backup launch date, but it's unlikely that the new launch date will be set until the rollback decision has been made. So there you go, guys. Artemis. Out again. Oh, boy. Well, you guys, we're going to take a quick break. Last break of the morning, I think. I appreciate you tuning in here to Jams and Coffee in the morning. Please like and subscribe. And enjoy this tune. We'll be right back.
The vivid energy, ask no question, let the rhythm be the remedy. Can't silence me, can't silence my enemies. Who's meant to be will always be. This is your destiny. They can't stop us now. No, 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 they can't stop us now. No, 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 they can't stop us now. Nah, nah, no, nah, nah, no. Cause I've been singing it like a la ba ba la ba. Singing it like a la ba ba la ba. Singing it like a la ba ba la ba. Oh no, oh no. Obligation, controls the population. No imitation, you know that we're not faking. You give my mind right, free my soul. So I am singing upon the microphone. That they can't stop us now. No, 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 they can't stop us now. No, 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 they can't stop us now. No, 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 no. Cause I've been singing it like a la ba ba la ba. Singing it like a la ba ba la ba. Singing it like a la ba ba la ba. Oh no. like it's my purpose. Never perfect, open the curtain, call the masses. Use your imagination and imagine a nation singing. They can't stop us, no. No, 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 they can't stop us, no. No, 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 they can't stop us, no. No, 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 no. Cause I've been singing it like a la ba ba la ba. Singing it like a la ba ba la ba. Singing it like a la ba ba la ba. Oh no, oh no. They can't stop us, no. No, 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 they can't stop us, no. No, 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 they can't stop us, no. No, no, no.
We're back. That was the Tasty Vibrations. Can't stop us. Thanks for tuning in, you guys. Let's see. I'm going to hit you with some celebrity birthdays. We got the top 10 that will fly through. Let's see. Celebrating birthday today at 41 years old, tennis star Serena Williams, who, of course, has won every major tournament and became the oldest number one champion ever in 2013. She captured 23 singles titles to go along with 14 double titles alongside her older sister, Venus Williams. She retired from the game this year. Happy birthday, Serena. Let's see. Multiple Grammy Award-winning actress and singer Olivia Newton-John, who gained fame in Greece and released the double platinum album Physical. Sold over 100 million records and has released over 10 top 10 Billboard Hot 100 singles. She sadly passed away this year after a long battle with cancer, and she would have been 74 years old today. Happy heavenly birthday there, Olivia Newton-John. Turning 41 years old today, R&B and pop singer Christina Milian, whose 2001 debut single AM to PM peaked at number 3 on the UK singles charts. Also an actress, she earned her first lead role in the 2003 teen comedy Love Don't Cost a Thing. 41 years old. Turning 38, Neve Schulman, the subject of the 2010 documentary Catfish, and the host of the documentary-inspired MTV reality show Catfish, the TV show, turning 38. Very young. I thought he was older than that. Congratulations on being youthful, Neve. And rounding out our celebrity birthdays here, turning 65 years old today. The actress best known for her role as Sarah Connor in the Terminator film franchise, Linda Hamilton, celebrating her birthday today. From 1987 to 1989, she played Katherine Chandler in Beauty and the Beast as well. There you go. We got some local birthdays as well. My good friend Dee is celebrating her birthday today. Of course, she is the maker of the Code Rum cakes that you can get at coderumcakes.com. They are amazing. So if you've got a hunger for rum cake, go to coderumcakes.com. Dee's the one making them, and it's her birthday today. Happy birthday, Dee. Also, it is Johnny Depp Prestige's birthday today. Happy birthday, Johnny. I love you. If you haven't seen Johnny Depp perform around here and you're local, you got to get out there and see him. Even if you have seen him, go see him again. He's a wonderful man and excellent singer-songwriter and musician. So happy birthday, John. And yeah. Let's see. What do I want to get into next? That's right, top 10. Let's do that. So the American Mafia emerged in impoverished Italian immigrant neighborhoods and cities all across the U.S., from Chicago to New York City. The mob engaged in criminal activities from bootlegging in the 1920s, murder for hire, illegal gambling, and prostitution to stock fraud and money laundering in the 2000s. World of organized crime, it's not uncommon for fathers to introduce their sons to the business. And while some sons gain success in the world of crime and even overshadow their fathers, some just don't have a natural aptitude for life in the family business. And we're going to look at some examples in this week's or today's JNC Top 10. Here we go. That's right. First here on the list, Gerard Papa. He started out in the Rampers Gang, notorious street gang that also produced some notable names such as future Gambino family underboss Sammy Gravano. The local mafioso saw his potential, and he became an initiated member, a made member, or what they call a made man, in the Genovese family, where he was known for his efficiency as a contract killer. His greed for money led him to start selling drugs and conducting off-the-record killings. In July 1980, he was shot to death with a sawed-off shotgun in a restaurant in Brooklyn for killing a Colombo soldier without permission. Following in his footsteps was his son, John Papa, who was affiliated with the Colombo family. It is true that the apple doesn't fall far from the tree, as John got involved in racketeering, drug dealing, and contract killings. He was arrested in a church in 1997 while attending a wedding rehearsal for the brother of one of his victims. He was sentenced to life in prison at the tender age of 22. Whoops. Next on the list, Carmine Persico. He started out his life of crime by extorting lunch money from his classmates. He was 17. He was charged with murder. Then rose to become the boss of the Colombos. At a trial in which he decided to represent himself, the judge remarked on his intelligence. In 1987, he was sentenced to 100 years in prison. Yet he continued to run the family from behind bars. By 2017, Persico was in a medium security prison where he had become friends with convicted fraudster Bernie Madoff. He died in 2019. Now, Carmine's son, Alphonse, was a student at college before he dropped out. Alphonse was involved in the Third Colombo War, which pitted Vic Orena on one side of the Alphonse's one side and Alphonse's father on the other. Vic Orena had previously been named acting boss by Carmine, but Vic decided to betray the Persicos. And word reached Alphonse while he was still in prison, and he promptly ordered the death of Orena. In 1993, Orena had been sent to prison, and the Persicos won. Alphonse Persico took over as acting boss in 1996. However, he was sentenced to life in prison in 2009 for murder. So another reigning boss behind bars. Let's see here. Raymond, next on the list. Raymond was the boss of the Patriarca family. During his teenage years, he had already been involved in multiple crimes, creating a reputation for himself. After mobster Filippo Bucola fled to Sicily under pressure from the U.S. government agencies, Raymond took over the reins of power. He was ruthless in his reign. At one time, he ordered a family soldier to murder his own son after he lost a substantial amount of money in a bad deal. Well, Raymond died in 1984, and Raymond Jr. became the boss of the Patrica family after the death of his father, of course. Patriarca Jr. was considered weak, but managed to stay in power mainly due to the support given by the Commission, which is the governing body of the Italian-American Mafia, formed in 1931 by Charles Lucky Luciano. His first test as boss came within his family when his underboss tried to take over while he was still in prison. The plot failed when he got the support of the Commission. However, his reign marked the decline in the Patriarca family, crime family. He was arrested in 1990 on various charges, and when he was released from prison, he retired from the life of organized crime. How sweet. Number 7 on our list, Carlo Gambino. He came to the United States as a stowaway on a ship. In 1957, his boss, Anastasia, was murdered in a barbershop, and Gambino took over the leadership of the family. He was Known to be a good earner for the family during World War II, he made millions reselling food stamps that had been stolen. Throughout his life, he avoided attention and lived modestly. The Gambino family became the strongest during his reign. Despite being involved in organized crime for over 50 years, he only served 22 months in prison. He died peacefully in 1976. Now, Thomas joined the Gambino family soon after his graduation from college, backed by his father and uncle, Paul Castellano. In 1962, he married Frances, the daughter of Lucchese family boss, Tommy Lucchese. He's heavily involved in New York's garment and trucking industry, and after Gotti murdered his uncle, Castellano, these names, his life was spared because of the amount of money he was making for the family. In 1996, he served 5 years and was released in 2000. Back out there. Number 6 on our list. We're talking about the Calabrese family. Frank Sr. came from a poor family with no education. He entered the Chicago underworld and joined the outfit. Quickly rose to the ranks, become a caporegime, a ranking member of the family. Frank Sr. was also a cold-blooded killer. He was found responsible for 7 mob hits, including the 1986 murder of Tony Spilotro, the inspiration for the Joe Pesci character in the movie Casino. He was sentenced to life in prison in 2009 after his son, Frank Calabrese Jr., collaborated with the government against his father. His son, Frank Jr., followed his father into the mob. As a teenager, he started doing errands for his father. At first, he idolized his dad, but as he grew older, his father grew more erratic, and this caused a drift between them. While they were both serving time in prison, Frank Jr. contacted the FBI and told them of his willingness to cooperate. He wore a wire in prison, taping incriminating conversations with his father that led to multiple incarcerations of outfit members, including his father. Frank Jr. got out of prison and out of the mob life and is now a motivational speaker. How nice. Learning stuff. Number 5 on our list today, Frankie Lucasio joined the Gambino family in the late 1950s. He was a good earner, and when John Gotti took over, he became the consigliere, which is the advisor to the boss. He was a stickler for the mafia rules. When Sammy, the underboss, eventually decided to switch sides and cooperate with the government, Frankie and Gotti were sentenced to life in prison. At his sentencing, he said, "I am guilty of being a good friend of John Gotti, and if there were more men like John Gotti on this earth, we would have a better country." He died in prison just last year, 2021. His son, Salvatore, became a caporegime. He was involved in one of the largest consumer frauds in American history. The plan involved internet users looking for adult content, enticing them to enter their credit card information for free trials, and then later charging them a monthly fee. Complaints from victims caught the attention of the U.S. Justice Department. By February 2004, the entire Salvatore crew had been arrested. Federal prosecutors estimated that the Gambinos grossed approximately $500 million from the phone cramming operation. He was sentenced to 2 years in prison and released back in 2008. Number 4, the Scarpas. Gregory Sr. was an infamous hitman for the Colombo family. In the Third Colombo Civil War, he sided with Carmine Persico. Remember him? In 1962, he was arrested for armed robbery. To avoid prosecution, he agreed to work with the FBI, beginning a 30-year relationship. He helped the FBI solve a case where 3 black civil rights workers were killed by a gang of white supremacists. Scarpa threatened to kill a Klansman if he didn't disclose the location of the bodies. 3 bodies were later found. He died in 1994 from AIDS-related complications, and his son Gregory Jr. followed in his father's footsteps. He was a top hitman for the Colombo family and later on becoming a caporegime. In 1988, he was sentenced to 20 years in prison. While in prison, he started to cooperate with the FBI by giving them leads on the World Trade Center bombing with information purportedly from the Ramzi Youssef the mastermind, who was also in the same prison as Scarpa Jr. It turned out to be a scam by Scarpa Jr., hoping to get an early release. And in 2020, he was released on compassionate grounds. Number 3 on our list, the Franzese. I think that's how you're going to pronounce that name. I could be wrong. But John Franzese became the underboss of the Colombo family. Big family. During the 1960s, he previously served in the Army but was discharged for displaying homicidal tendencies. Imagine that. It's not surprising then that he was a top hitman. One taped conversation with an informant, he said, "I did a lot of work back in the 60s. I killed a lot of you guys. You're not talking about 4, 5, or 6, 10. He served several stints in jail. He was released from prison in 2017 at the age of 100. At that time, he was the oldest federal inmate in the U.S., and he died in 2020. While John was known for being a hitman, his son Michael was known for his business acumen. He dropped out of a pre-med program at the Hofstra University to help his family earn some money when his father was sentenced to 50 years in prison. One of the pioneers of the gas tax scam, where they defrauded the government out of millions in tax money. At his height, he was making close to $8 million per week. He quit the mob life and became a Christian, and he now has a YouTube channel. Everyone's got one. Number 2, Nicodemo Scarfo became the head of the Philadelphia mob in the 1980s. Despite being only 5'5", he was feared and respected. He oversaw family operations in Atlantic City, bringing in a ton of money from extorting casino owners. His reign was characterized by fear and brutality. He once ordered the killing of family Caporgimi Sal Testa, the son of his predecessor, for fear that the young Testa was becoming too popular in the streets. His creed at that time was kill or be killed. He was sentenced to 55 years in prison after his nephew, the underboss at the time, turned informant. His son, Nicky Scarfo Jr., joined the mob in the 1980s after surviving an attempt on his life in 1989 by a fellow Philadelphia mobster. His father arranged for him to become a made member of the Lucchese family to protect him. He rose to be a caporegime. In 2011, he was arrested for his role in the embezzlement of millions of dollars from First Plus Financial Group. Scarfo was convicted for the scheme and sentenced to 30 years imprisonment in July of 2015. And number 1 on our list here, Philip Testa became the boss of the Philadelphia mob after the death of Angelo Bruno in 1980. His operations were based out of the back of a restaurant where he oversaw activities such as illegal drugs, extortion, and loan sharking. In 1981, Philip and other mob members were indicted by the Philadelphia U.S. Attorney's Office for racketeering. Based on these various activities, by March, he would be dead, killed by a bomb hidden under his front porch. Amazing. These guys were brutal. Testa's killing spawned a string of intra-family wars that lasted until 1995. Salvatore Testa took over control of the family business after the death of his father. He was promoted to caporegime by the new boss, Nicodemo Scarfo. Salvatore sought vengeance for his father's death, and he found his revenge when he murdered the mobsters responsible for his father's death. In 1984, Salvatore later broke off his engagement to the daughter of one of the underbosses, Salvatore Merlino. Afterward, Merlino was insulted and not happy with the young suitor. Scarfo also feared Testa's growing popularity and decided to eliminate him. Salvador Testa was killed in 1984 at the age of 28. If we had more time, I'd tell you a Merlino story, but that's a story for another time. And that is our top 10. The mob is so interesting, you guys. Philip said lots of good fellas talk. It's true, man. It's a strange thing, cultural thing here in America. I mean, I guess it's worldwide, but like, that it's been so treated as a business, you know. and there's so much money and so many paid off officials to just allow this stuff to keep happening. It's really fascinating. And of course, yeah, it's been romanticized in film for decades. People almost give it a pass. The absolute brutality, the absolute just extortion. They get a pass. They get a pass because it's romanticized in film. Really fascinating stuff. I got some shameless plugs for you here before I get you on with your day. I appreciate you tuning in. Thank you so much for that. I hope that you subscribe to our YouTube channel and all of our other things. You can find all of that at jncpodcast.com. Links to all of our stuff. It's a great centrally located website for all of our stuff. So visit there, find our links, subscribe please to our YouTube channel. Let's see, what else? Check out our friends at the Code Rum. We just talked about them briefly. Code Rum Cakes, Dee's birthday. You can also check out other people that are our friends. Hop Life Brewing in Port St. Lucie. Love them. Sneaky Tiki in downtown Stewart. I was just there on Saturday night hanging out with Jams and Cocktails podcast alumni Stephen D. Hunt, an amazing one-man band performer. That was fun. And, of course, Paul at the Drums and Rums. He's very busy being Batman these days. So we'll get Paul back probably after a couple of weeks. Hopefully, God willing. But yeah, check out the Drums and Rums podcast, all the things that he has to offer, his live streams. His podcasts are incredibly engaging with wonderful guests. So check out all the stuff that Paul has to offer there as well. Just to mention that the DART, the NASA DART, will collide with the asteroid. That's going to happen today, 7:14 p.m. Eastern Time. There's going to be live coverage set to begin at 6 p.m. on NASA TV. You can search NASA TV on YouTube. Should be interesting. I'm going to tune in. Seems like something cool to watch, an interesting thing to witness. The first time ever. So that's important. What else? I think that's it. I think that's it for shameless plugs. If I missed something, you let me know, and I'll add it in later. You guys, thank you again so much for tuning in. I hope you enjoy the rest of your Monday. I hope you get out of your fog, you guys, Philip and Pam. And thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you right back here tomorrow, 8 a.m. I love you guys. Bye.
Tune in again tomorrow morning for the latest local buzz, national headlines, music news, and more on JNC in the Morning, right here on Facebook and YouTube.